From the high desert southwest and an indiscreet shave den located in the deep recesses of Ouch's basement, broadcasting north from McMurdo Sound to Ice Station Zebra and east and west across all time zones to our members throughout the world, this is Badger and Blade Radio. Happy Halloween, Badger and Blade, and welcome to our special Halloween edition of B&B Radio. We've got a big show for you tonight, including some ghost stories and some paranormal stories that were submitted by our members here on badgerandblade.com, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. The first one comes from August West, where apparently him and Ouch attended a concert of Frank Zappa on October 31st, 1981. Very, very spooky. Our next story comes from KeenDogg. My friend's aunt used to tell us that a person lived in our house previously was a witch. She claimed there were 2 statuettes in the house, and they warded off evil ghosts. She told me, I was 9 at the time, that this witch used to keep humans in a giant fish tank. She said she also kept pig's blood in jars and used them in rituals. It scared the bejeevers out of me. My mother claimed to have heard someone running up and down the stairs one night. She came out and checked on my brother and I, but we were both asleep. My brother and I once found some mason jars with a brown liquid in them. They were in the basement behind the steps. They clearly had been there a while. We said to ourselves, oh man, there's the pig's blood. I don't know what it was, maybe apple butter, who knows. About a year passed, and I had forgotten all about the witch and the statuettes and the pig's blood. My mother, who worked for our landlord, was helping her get ready for a yard sale. My mother was tasked with emptying the landlord's storage shed for the sale. The garage was about a half a block from my house. I was riding my bike down the alley, where the garage was, the day before the sale. My mom was working, and I wanted to see what she was up to. I saw her walking over to the garage with keys. She explained to me that she had to get some more things out of there for the yard sale. She unlocked the lock, opened the door, and there it was, a 6-foot-long, 2-foot-deep fish tank. It scared the life out of me. I thought, oh my God, it's true. There was a witch. There's the fish tank that she had the people in. It seems silly now that I'm an adult, but when I was young, that scared the life out of me. We moved out of there for normal reasons when I was 11. I still get the creeps when I see that house. On a side note, I never did come across any statuettes. I think my fear of the place stems from that. Well, thank you, Adam. And was this real? Was there a witch? And where were the statuettes? From our Strange But True files, this comes from Huskers, better known as Josh on the forums, and it very simply states, so my birthday is on Halloween. Is that considered scary? I know I was pretty scary looking when I was born. You folks see the pictures. You be the judge. And from Majorrich in Ohio, he tells us when he was a child, he would often travel to his grandmother's house in Lexington, Kentucky. His grandfather had built the home from plans and materials he bought from Sears and Roebuck. Subsequently, he remodeled and expanded the home as the family expanded. The house was built near the site of Fort Bryan Station in the northwest part of Lexington. This was the site of several Indian attacks during the latter 1700s. As the adults caught up and talked into the night, we were sent to bed in the former attic at the head of some very creaky and creepy stairs. In the bedroom, we always ended up in the closets we were forbidden to take a look at, or to open, or to play in. They would open and close by their own accord, which would usually frighten the very life out of us. The nature of the door's movements convinced us that this house was haunted, and we were frightened to look in those closets because of their nighttime behavior. Years later, as adults, my brother and I were talking to Dad about how frightened we were and what we saw. He did reply to us that he believed the house to be haunted and recounted the story of an encounter. One summer, my father moved from the bedroom upstairs to the back porch area, as he and my uncle used to share a bed, and they were getting too big to do that. He felt very creeped out and woke up to see a man standing in front of his bed in pioneer garb looking at him. He said the apparition never interacted with him, but he did see it several times over that summer. Later that year, 1940, he left home to join the Army rather than stay out there on the porch. I'm sure that wasn't the reason why he joined, but that was his story. He was 19 at the time. Our next story, submitted by KJ the Vez 2, does indicate that we as adults kind of forget that there are things going on around us. We become eye blind, nose blind, and ear blind to things, but children and pets always seem to see what we can't. When I was stationed at F.E. Warren Air Force Base, I lived in the historic brick houses that were once the old officers' homes of then Fort D.A. Russell. These houses were built in the early 1900s, and many of them had stories about them. Many of the buildings on base were known to be haunted. Even the base museum would tell you the stories about some of the buildings on base, but would never confirm which ones, if any, were the homes said to be haunted. My squadron building used to be the base hospital, and many people had stories if they were there after hours. My now ex-wife got a feeling that there was a presence in our basement, which used to be the servants' quarters, but now housed our laundry room. She didn't like to go down there if she was alone. On a couple of instances, she thought she caught a glimpse of a figure walking out of the corner of her eye. My only direct experience in that house was when we were babysitting a friend's 1 to 2-year-old daughter. She was playing at the bottom of the stairs that went to the second floor. All of a sudden, and without warning, her eyes locked onto the top of the stairs. She was staring intently at something. We could not see anything up there, but obviously she did. They say that kids and pets are more in tune with the spirit world. I truly believe that she was looking at a ghost. You know, with all these stories that we do have, both from the paranormal and ghost stories, there are also stories where we are our own worst enemy, and the best laid plans usually end up backfiring. This next story was submitted by CBLindsay. This isn't your average ghost story, but it is true. When I was about 12 or 13, my parents went out of town with friends for several days. My brother and I stayed with friends and their 2 sons. The plan was to have the 4 of us there with a 4-foot party sub and plenty of soda. A neighbor agreed to check in on us, but we were never told that he would be checking in on us. We all decided to stay up and watch Nightmare on Elm Street. The first movie was plenty scary, of course, but I figured I would be safe as long as I never fell asleep. Then the sequel proved my theory wrong by showing that Freddy could get to you even when you were awake. Eventually, we all decided to sleep in the living room and curled up in our sleeping bags. Being the funny guy I am, I decided to take advantage of the stillness and prepared to scare my friends sleeping next to me. I raised up, started to lunge forward to grab him while yelling. At the exact moment I began my attack, he, being of equally mischievous mind, forced out a very loud and rather aggressive fart, scaring the heck out of me. My scream, in turn, scared him. Once we were all awake, on a heightened alert for sneak attacks from the other, the neighbor, a somewhat homeless-looking man, peered in through the windows, scaring all of us. He, of course, expected to peek in and verify there were 4 bodies asleep on the floor. Little did he suspect that we would be all amped up and scream when he peeked in. Our somewhat surprising reaction scared him as well. Needless to say, none of us slept much that night. Our next story again comes from majorrich, and in this case it was something that happened that was true, and it's amazing how true items can also leave lasting impressions. In the spring of 1978, there was a murder in my hometown. Actually, it became part of a series of murders locally referred to as the 22 caliber killings. The Lewington brothers were eventually captured and imprisoned. The house that these occurred at remained vacant for decades following the crimes. I was 17 at the time, and it was common to be dared to break into the house at night. Later on, when I was in college in the early 80s and the house was still vacant and boarded up, my brother and I and a couple of friends decided to set out on and experience the adventure. While we did get to the now very open basement windows, we chickened out before entering the home. And it's amazing how stories can transverse continents. When I was growing up, my mom was born in Puerto Rico, and she told me a story of El Hacho. The story was that a gentleman went down to the river, got injured, and lost his head. And from then on out, he would carry a lantern near the river in search of his head. Now, I didn't put much stock in that as I got older, but then a friend of mine lived near Visalia, California, and there's a location that used to be out there, I don't know if it still is, called Tagus Ranch. And my friend had told me that you would go camping. It was a popular camping site, and there was one house out there, I guess a caretaker, and you would go out to your campsite, and all of a sudden you would see this flashlight. This flashlight would try to get to you, but it would only stay on the trails. If you were off the trail, it couldn't get to you, but yet you would see it pass by, no bodies, no nothing, and it would keep trying to get to you. Well, of course, I didn't believe him, and I went out and visited him one time, and he goes, "Hey, let's go camping in Tagus Ranch." I said, "Sure, why not?" So I figured he had a bunch of buddies with flashlights out somewhere, but indeed he did not. So we went out camping, and sure enough, right around 11 o'clock at night, we were sitting around the campfire, telling ghost stories, of course, and sure enough, there was this light, and it was on a trail. And it was on the far side of the lake, but eventually you could see it was trying to make its way over to us. Now, fortunately, our campsite was off one of the trails, so it could never get to us. And it probably got within about 75 feet of us, and it looked simply like a flashlight, but there was no visible image behind it. Well, at that point, we decided maybe we should make haste and leave. So we got to our car, and we started going down the trail, heading out of Tagus Ranch. The flashlight was behind us. We stopped the car. The flashlight came right up behind the car, went over the top of the car, and continued down the road. Nothing behind it. Needless to say, I never believed that until I saw it for myself, but at the same time, some 40 years later, I have never been back to Tagus Ranch. You know, other scary stories can also happen from events that occur in and around you. This next story comes from CBLindsay. I witnessed firsthand an event that only can be described as terrifying. I watched half in horror, half excited as it all unfolded. It started with the discovery of something simple, but within a week that simple discovery had infected a community of almost 60,000 people. Many of those in the community were entirely unaware of what was happening, but even some unwittingly carried the only infection beyond its origin in a discreet shave den in the desert of the Southwest. What started with two molecules with two different divine entities, like a fertilization of a perfect being, had spontaneously grown into a massive omnipresent sensory event. The powers of the green goddess had been combined with the scent of the divine to be referred by a single name. A name when spoken loud simultaneously evokes both ecstasy and dread. A master sage of the Frag Underground had unwittingly started what would be simply known as the beginning. The beginning of the tobacco apocalypse. Within hours, knights loyal to the sage would begin taking a stand. One in each of several key geographic locations. Some like the most incredibly amazing knight known as CBLindsay. There may be a relation to myself, but it doesn't make the story any less true. They traveled hundreds of miles to ensure the success of the campaign, which others had pledged to support. All at once, a little at a time, a cloud containing the best qualities of its divine percentage began to take form. Once formed, it was clear to me that those faithful who had pledged loyalty to that new entity had been born from the spark created by the union of Panad, Lilac Vegetal, and Tabac from the House of Tabac. This entity had the power to cause razors to glide exquisitely across the faces of the loyal knights, a scent so lovely as to cause attractive ladies to swoon, and Murphy of the House of Pain to be held at bay. It is true, my friends, I remember it well. I will one day tell my grandchildren that I survived the TAVACAVEG wars and the tobacco apocalypse that followed. Scary stuff for some, but a moment of pure exhilaration for a few. And our final story this evening comes from Z4CHC, better known as Zach on the boards. And thanks to Zach, we do have some pictures of the event, as well as some very creepy video to go along with it. One time I decided to explore an abandoned mental asylum with one of my friends. We walked around through the decrepit remains of the unkempt building, taking pictures, peeking in dusty windows, and speculating what could be out there. As we circled the main building of the complex, we turned the corner to reveal an alphabet scrawled across the wall. Pondering what that could be, we never knew. As we worked our way deeper into the complex, we came across an arch between two buildings with two smashed out windows above it. We thought it looked like a mouth yelling at us to turn back. While looking around the area for good pictures out of the corner of my eye, I saw a flash of white shoot across one of those windows, as if someone in an old white hospital gown had darted across the hall. We very nervously looked at each other to confirm what we had just seen. Oh, we must have been just a curtain or something, we told ourselves. We very cautiously walked through the arch to take pictures on the other side. As I lined up a shot for the building, I heard my friend yell, "Oh, God!" I jumped around and swung around to ask what happened, and he points at the arch and says, "I think I just saw something on the other side." Well, we very quickly walked away to explore other parts of the campus much further away from the arch, and stumbled across a lone building whose door had been left open, with cracked windows lining the back toward the entrance. It was Ryan Hall. As we approached the door slowly, inching closer toward the darkness that wait beyond the door, bang! We hear what sounded like a hand pound against a window from the other side. Well, we took off running as fast as we could and left Ryan Hall in the dust. We never decided to go back again. So there you have it, B&B, our ghost stories from our members, and we hope you enjoyed it. We certainly hope that you enjoyed those stories that were submitted by our B&B members, and I'm sure some of you are thinking that Asylum story was rather freaky. It was true, it has been verified, and I'm sure some of you are wondering, how can I get to that location to check it out myself? After our commercial break, our field reporter in Europe, Psydkick, will be interviewing Dracula, the Mummy, and the Wolfman from the lovely 5 more graded Transylvania Hotel. We'll be right back.
Oh, I do enjoy an evening with a little light entertainment. But when your video heads get dirty, you lose your picture. Not a pretty sight. Happily, this new Polaroid video cassette will help you. It actually cleans your heads as it plays, so dirty heads needn't haunt you. New Polaroid video cassettes. Get the picture?
Welcome back to the show, everybody, in our special Halloween edition of Badger and Blade Radio. We are now going to go live to the Hotel Transylvania in Europe, where our field reporter Psydkick is preparing for her interview of Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. How are you this evening, Sharon, on this wonderful, dreary Halloween night?
Well, I'm doing just wonderful, Dave. Thank you for this first assignment, and I have to say that I got in my hotel room and found instant coffee. Really, instant coffee? You know. Okay, whatever. That's a conversation for later, but I'm sitting here in the lobby, folks. Welcome to the Halloween edition. I'm sitting in the lobby of the Hotel Transylvania. There is a huge fire, thankfully, because it is raining and cold and dreary. So, I see Dracula is floating on in here. Welcome, Mr. Dracula.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I need to make a small correction, and I apologize to do this on the air, but I need you to say it with me. Dracula.
Dracula.
No, not Dracula. Dracula.
Dracula.
See, doesn't that sound so much better than Dracula?
Yes,
Dracula. Remember, I am Dracula. I am the Prince of Darkness.
My apologies. But actually, I always heard of you referred to as Vlad the Impaler.
Blah, blah, blah. Vlad the Impaler. But I must say one thing first. You know, I did not have lunch, and I'm looking at your veins, and they're going bumpity, bumpity, bumpity.
I'm noticing that.
I apologize if I stare at your neck.
Okay, I'm pulling up my collar now.
Okay, that would be best for you.
Speaking of collars, I have to say you're dressed really well.
Thank you very much. But back to the hack, Vlad the Impaler. The true story is not what you see in Hollywood. What it is I went on vacation, and I come back, and my beautiful ornate fence around my castle is now shish kebabs, villagers, blood everywhere.
Ew.
And he dresses like a hat with that stupid V hat he wears.
You're right.
Vlad the Impaler was nowhere near Dracula. I'm an important person.
You're right, absolutely not. You are. You look very nicely dressed, and I notice you're also really very well shaven. You have. You just look so sharp.
Well, as the Prince of Darkness, I need to have a tuxedo, and I need to have my cape with the red silk lining, and my Alden shoes. I must look the part, and I have this really cool medallion as well.
That's beautiful.
And the way I've learned to shave by being a member of Badger and Blade.
I was going to say, how long did it take you to learn to shave?
Quite a while. I've been around for almost 700 years. But I must say one thing, and I don't know why Badger and Blade Radio chose this. The Hotel Transylvania is not what it used to be. It doesn't look as good.
How's that?
It's dingy.
What would you change?
Everything. This looks cheaper than a Holiday Inn in Poughkeepsie. But anyhow, you were asking me about my shave.
Okay, please.
I learned to shave on Badger and Blade because, as you know, as the undead, if I look into a mirror, I see nothing. However, I had a plan. I got some shave soap, I squirreled it up, and I put it on my face, and I grabbed my razor, and I looked into the mirror, and it scared me.
Why's that?
Because all I saw was a big white puffy cloud and a razor floating in the air.
Oh my gosh.
And believe me, I don't have to worry about cuts because I don't bleed, but it was scary. But the gentleman at Badger and Blade taught me as a new member on how to get a BBS shave every single day.
That's wonderful.
It's wonderful. I love it. Don't I look good?
You look awesome.
I can see your veins again.
I know. Okay, so I'm going to push this up. So anyways, did you have, we need to cut the interview short because the Wolfman, I see him coming in
not
the
him.
lobby over here.
Not him.
Is there anything you'd like to say before we close?
Yes, I would like to wish everybody at Badger and Blade a very happy Halloween. And while you're out trick-or-treating or going to one of your parties, if you look up and see a bat, do not swat it. It could be me.
Are you okay?
Oh, excuse me. I had an Italian for lunch and I have a clot.
Ew.
But I want to thank you, Sharon, and I want to thank Badger and Blade Radio for doing this interview so I could set the record straight.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And I see the Wolfman coming in. So
Oh, hello, furball.
welcome. Have a sit.
What'd you do that for?
I needed you. What?
Why did you hit me?
You were going to start biting him.
I don't like him.
I know. Is there bad blood?
You're very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of bad blood between me and old Fang Face over there. He gets all the accolades. Oh, Dracula this, Dracula that. Well, hey, guess what? You're Dracula to me, you mook. Anyway, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking like this. I'm sorry.
Actually, talking like that, I detect a New York accent. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm from New York. What about it?
I always thought that werewolves were from London. Well, werewolf from London.
Once again, Hollywood and all the songs and everything else. No, I'm from Flatbush in Brooklyn.
Okay, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, from the greatest city in the world, New York.
Were you born a werewolf?
No, I worked in a factory down in the Fabric District, and it's kind of an embarrassing story because you guys think that I got bit in the moors of London, and when the full moon comes out, I go out and attack and make more little werewolves. Well, that's not really what happened.
What happened?
Well, it's rather embarrassing. Well, New York isn't like it used to be. Right now, you can go down on West 42nd Street. In fact, you can't even drive a car down there anymore. And you can get a cappuccino, buy a set of sneakers. But in the old days, it was dark, it was dreary, and I was walking home. I had some business to do with this guy to do this thing in Manhattan, and I was a little hungry. And there's this great Puerto Rican restaurant in Hell's Kitchen, and I was going down there to get some food, and there was a shortcut through an alley.
Okay.
Well, as I went down through the alley, I don't remember a lot, but I do remember this. I was attacked by a gang of Pekingese and a damn beagle. It's not funny. It's not funny because what Hollywood thinks of what really happened is a lot more romantic than getting attacked by a bunch of angle biters and a beagle.
You don't look like a Pekingese, at least.
No, but they're mean. Don't let them fool you. Those little puffballs will eat your face off.
I guess, but you know what? I don't see any scars on you. How do you keep your?
Well, I have a lot of fur.
Yeah, and it's shiny. How do you keep it looking so good?
Well, after I became a werewolf, I looked like a sheepdog, and I had to figure out a way to get that look. I mean, my goal had always been to look like the real Wolfman from a long time ago, and I looked terrible. I mean, I had mange and I was matted, and basically I looked like somebody's rug in their bathroom. So what I did is I found this place called Badger and Blade, and I found out that one of the forums they have there is body and skincare.
Okay.
And so I learned from those guys there, and now I've got this wonderful shampoo, and I got this wonderful conditioner. I comb my hair 150 strokes every night, and I actually put on pomade.
Homemade.
No, pomade. Say it.
Homemade.
Pomade.
Homemade.
Pomade.
Homemade pomade.
No, it's called. It's
Pomade. Okay.
Yeah, you know the hair stuff you put in.
Okay.
So I'm always
it looks
shiny.
Really good.
I'm always shiny and slick.
It looks
Because
great.
I do get a lot of blood on my fur because a lot of times I can't control what I'm doing, and it gets kind of crazy, and stuff like that happens to me.
Thank you so much for washing up to come in and talk
Well,
with
of course,
us
of course. Hey, did old Fangface tell you this hotel has really gone in the dumps?
Okay, yes. Let's get back to.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I'm gonna ask you if you have any final parting words for the members of Badger and Blade before you go.
Yeah, I'd like to wish all of them a very, very happy Halloween. If they have kids, make sure your kids are safe. And also, if you do happen to come across a werewolf, just say hi. They're not always mean. And if you're in New York, watch out for those gangs of Pekingese and those damn beagles, because they'll get you. And it's bad stuff. And also, don't forget to spay and neuter your pets.
Okay, thank you so much. And we're going to let you go, and we're going to have the mummy come in here in a minute. So
Mr. Bandage guy. Mr. Bandages.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
heading this way now. And
thank you.
I want to apologize to all the sheepdog out there.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. Here comes the mummy. Welcome. Is it Mr. Mummy? Oh, you look like you're having some difficulty with your. Let me just pull the bandage down there.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I'm free. I can speak and I can talk to everybody again. It's so wonderful.
Oh my gosh, I never expected that accent or voice from you.
What?
I always thought it would be like very Egyptian.
Oh, I am Egyptian, but I can be a flamboyant Egyptian, can I not?
Yes, you are. Certainly. Yes,
Listen,
you may.
honey, the way you're dressed, I can be this way.
Yes, you. Why are you dressed like that? What's with the bandages? Are you?
It's an embarrassing story. If you know the history of the Egyptians, 4,000 years I've been dressed in these rags because I was a brand new shaver long ago, and we didn't have a lot of the shave equipment like you see now, and I was learning how to shave. And I would nick myself and I would cut myself. Well, that young upstart, King Tut, had to have everything so perfect. And so I bled a little on his floors.
Oh, he was a little OCD.
Very OCD. He had to have his perfect little tail and his tassel, and he had to have everything perfectly clean all the time. So unfortunately, I bled on his floor a few times. He got upset and wrapped me in these bandages for eternity.
Oh my gosh. So, what would you do if you took the bandages off?
Well, honey, you know, I'm 4,000 years old. A lot of the parts aren't exactly where they used to be. So I have to keep this up because other than that, you've heard that the Blob? That's exactly what would happen to me, honey.
Oh, yes. I remember that movie. That was such a good movie.
Yes, unfortunately, I'm not as svelte as I used to be.
Well, at least you're all put together here.
Well, that's thanks to the Ace Bandage Company.
Is there anything you want to say to the people at Badger
Oh,
and Blade?
yes. I love the gentlemen at Badger and Blade. They are such wonderful people. They're welcoming to everybody all the time. It's the best place on the internet. And I also want to wish them a very, very happy Halloween and thank Badger and Blade Radio for doing this interview with the icons of the horror movies and the icons of Halloween. And thank you so much for removing these bandages. Now I can be free and I can talk to anybody I want.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to be wrapping up. Oh, I guess I shouldn't say wrap up.
That wasn't very nice, honey. I got 13 yards of fabric on me, and you have to say wrap up? That's not very nice.
Well, I apologize for that, but I want to thank you so much for coming in tonight, and I want to thank all of the members of Badger and Blade for joining us and wish you all a very happy Halloween, and we're going to be back with David in just a moment.
Good night!
Bye.
Halloween's a perfect time for baking spooky cookies. Just roll out Pillsbury sugar cookies, cut, bake and decorate, then feed them to your goblins. So much fun there. Scary.
Welcome back to Badger and Blade Radio. We certainly hope you're enjoying our Halloween special this Halloween evening and some news and events around badgerandblade.com. Please make sure that you keep an eye out on the general shave discussion forum, as Movember will be showing up pretty soon. What Movember and No Shave November are events that are specifically designed to support men's healthcare issues such as prostate cancer, high blood pressure, and low testosterone. Now, No Shave November means that you will commit to not shaving for the entire month to support these healthcare issues, and Movember is where you will actually grow a mustache to support these issues as well. Traditionally, B&B does have a team, so please keep an eye out for that thread. The winner of the October Darkroom contest, which was Curves, was Legion, and the November contest will be Interaction. Please go on over to the Darkroom to find out all the details and take a look at the wonderful pictures that were submitted for the contest. The third annual Bingle Reindeer and Sleigh will be starting here very, very shortly. Sign-ups are in process as we speak, so check on into the General Shave Discussion Forum for that. What this is you get a chance to become a secret Santa to another member here on the board. Traditionally, this is a whole lot of fun, a lot of interaction, so please check that out. And now for the Sue Moore recap. Once again, the members of B&B did a fantastic job. We had over 163 lots that you could bid in and gained $15,821 for the National Breast Cancer Foundation that was donated directly to them. We'd like to thank all the vendors and the members who donated, and most importantly, we would like to thank the members who bid and won some of the items, and then of course all of the auctioneer volunteer staff who made this such a wonderful event to memorialize Sue Moore. Our PIF winners in the video library. Since everybody gave such wonderful stories for the earlier section on our paranormal and ghost stories, everyone who submitted a story will receive that wonderful yearning desire to have some candy corn. So we will be sending that out, and we will be contacting everybody for their shipping information. Although I have a feeling for those that don't like candy corn, they may not answer my emails. And then finally, our PIF for the scary movie night goes to Badger Babe. So we will be contacting you as well. Congratulations to everybody. As always, as we close out our Halloween special, we'd like to thank the moderators and the stewards for all the hard work they do each and every day. We'd like to thank the administrators and the owners for giving us this wonderful site to spend time on. And most importantly, we'd like to thank you, the member, for being a part of Badger and Blade. You are the lifeblood. And for this episode, we'd like to give special thanks to all the members that donated stories for our story night. We'd also like to thank Sharon, Psydkick, for being our interviewer in Europe for Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. And finally, we'd like to thank Cash Stronomer for giving us some pictures for the opening and closing segments. That's all we have for this special edition of Badger and Blade Radio. Upcoming events on our November shows will be Phil from Bull Goose as our vendor spotlight, and Smat at You, Eric, will be our member spotlight of that show. Once again, I've been your host, Skyside, Dave, and we hope you have a wonderful Halloween, and please be safe out there and have some fun with all your ghosts and goblins. Good night.